Well, hello there, and welcome to episode 70 of Coffee Break Blogging. Excited to get back into the chair today. You guys will not have seen this, but actually I spent last Friday in my RV. And the reason I did that was that I went out on what I try to do each quarter, is that I'll jump out and do some quarterly planning in the solitude of my RV. So it's a great use of the RV. I mean, I like going out camping and stuff like that anyway, but my wife was cool enough to say, yeah, sure, Dave, you can take off and do that. Go by yourself. She stayed with the kids, and I was able to do some really cool business planning. So I've got a lot of exciting plans now in the works for quarter two here of 2015, and some of it has to do with the podcast. So you guys might notice a few little changes as we move forward here with the podcast and some of the marketing that I'm going to be doing for the podcast to get more people in and stuff like that. So it's some really exciting stuff, but I don't want to talk too much about that right now, other than just to kind of say that, yeah, I did that, and now that you might want to consider doing something like that as well, because sometimes with our business, it's really great to spend some time just simply being the executive of your own business. Like, look at it as you are the executive of this business, and look at the business as separated from yourself. You're not creating a glorified new job for yourself. You actually are the boss of this thing, this company that you're creating. And sometimes you have to purposely take off your worker hat and go and be the executive. And for me, I find that, yes, I could sit in my office and do some of this planning, and I do that sometimes. But I'm also going to be really compelled to start doing some work if I'm sitting in my office, sitting in the same workspace that I do all the time. So for me, being that we've got the RV, it's a great opportunity to get out and get into a completely different environment, have some quiet time, be on the laptop, and get that whole thing done. So it's something that you might want to look into for yourself. But with that, let's jump into the core topic of episode 70 here. We're going to start talking about our lead magnet. And this is going to be a two-parter. We're going to finish it up in the next episode in 71. But today, I just want to introduce this idea of the lead magnet, and let's talk a little bit about how to get it right. Now, a lead magnet, if you've not heard this idea before, it simply means something that you give away to get them onto your email list. But it's a little bit more specific than that. And that's the really important thing that I want you to understand here, is that a lead magnet really isn't simply, oh, I'm going to give you some free ebook, or here, get some video, and maybe get them onto the list. Because let's think about what this lead magnet is really designed to do. What are the real purposes of the lead magnet? Well, it's got two primary purposes as I see it. The first one is obvious. That's to entice them onto the list, to get them to give you their email address. The second one, and this is the one that many people and a lot of bloggers don't consider, and that is that it should set the person up for a sale, which is going to come after it. So the lead magnet, when it's done properly, is actually a marketing vehicle. It's not just to get them onto the list, it's also to get the right type of person onto your list so that they're a prospect for an offer that it's going to be made after they opt in. Now, if you go to the Blog Marketing Academy, you're going to see the blog monetization model. And if you have not seen that, just go over there, click on Start Here right at the very top, and I'll give you a quick little rundown on it. And then you can also download a full resolution copy of the model and see how it looks. But when you look at that business model, one of the things that you should notice is that right after they opt into a lead magnet, they're going to get presented an offer. Now, there's multiple reasons for that. We're not going to get into that in this particular episode, but I just simply want you to see the arrangement there. One opts in for a lead magnet, and then they're going to get presented with an offer. And that's important. You have to take into the psychology and the makeup and the interests of the person who is opting into the list. So that has everything to do with what kind of lead magnet you're going to give them. It's not just, here, let me flood you with value just so I can get your email address, and then you kind of drop the ball from there. There's a follow-up behind this, and we've got to take that into account. So this is a bit of a different way of thinking about a lead magnet. at least for the way most bloggers typically think about it. If you're in the online marketing space, or especially if you're doing any form of paid traffic, this is not a new concept for you. But if you're not doing any of that stuff, this might be a completely new concept for you. So the lead magnet is designed to attract a specific kind of person. Not just anybody who's going to fog up a mirror if they breathe on it or has a heartbeat. I mean, we want a specific type of person who's going to be an actual prospect for a product that you sell, okay? So in order to accomplish that, I've broken it down into a list of 7 different things that I really think that you need to pay attention to when it comes to making a lead magnet. Now, the good news about these 7 things is that it's probably going to make your life a hell of a lot easier. Because when you see these 7, or when you hear these 7 things, I mean, we are listening to a podcast. When you hear these 7 things, you're going to find that it shortens the amount of work that it takes to make a good lead magnet. You're actually going to make a more effective lead magnet by doing less work. And why do I say that? Well, it's because I look at what a lot of bloggers and a lot of site owners are doing out there by making these big mega lead magnets, like these 7-day courses or these big ebooks that might be 40 or 50 pages long. And so it leads to this idea that in order to create a compelling lead magnet that's going to get people on your list and earn your subscribers, that it's just going to be an awful lot of work. And it really doesn't have to be at all. So with that, let's get right into the 7 points here. Point number 1 of an effective lead magnet is that it should provide a specific solution to a very specific market. Now, the key word there that I said twice was the word specific. You don't want this to be 7 tips to do something or some big ebook that has a very booky title to it. Like it's just something you might see at the bookstore sitting on the shelf. Those don't make good lead magnets because they don't have any specific promise. Now, the psychology behind this is important. If you're providing a specific solution to a specific market via that lead magnet, then it accomplishes the second purpose of the lead magnet, which is to set them up for a sale. If the lead magnet is ultra vague, then you're casting way too wide of a net, and therefore it's not really going to bring in the right kinds of people to take you up on an offer after that. So you might get the first thing, you might get them on your list, but you're not necessarily going to set it up for what's supposed to come after that. So that's why that's so important. Point number 2, it should promise one big thing. And the opposite of that, and what I don't want you to be doing, is to promise a ton of things or to be vague about it. Everything about this should be very specific, okay? And if you're doing something that's like a very book-like title, or you have a business blog and you say, here, download my lead magnets to learn the 7 secrets to build your business. That whole idea of build your business is just too darn vague. The 7 secrets thing, okay, you might use that word secrets because you've seen a lot of other marketers do it, but it doesn't mean it's a good lead magnet, okay? That's not specific. You want to promise one big thing. Take one of those secrets, for example. Make it more specific and give them the exact how-to on how to do that. That's specific. Don't give you 7 things. Don't give them a 7-day course. Give them one thing and make it as specific as possible. Hopefully you can see there that we just saved ourselves a lot of work, right? So point number 3, you want that lead magnet to lend itself to a very specific end result. You don't want it to be something vague like how to grow your business or here's how to get more traffic to your blog. It's too vague. And obviously, any example that I come up with, realize I'm in this particular market. So you're going to have to move these things into your market and what makes sense for your people. But again, you need to keep it specific. It should not be something where it's vague, that it can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. One good way to make it specific is to make a promise and have numbers behind it. So you can maybe inside of your lead magnet, you have a case study in there that has some very specific metrics behind it, and you can share those metrics because that makes it specific. It's not vague anymore at that point. So you want them, when they see your opt-in form, right above it, you want to say, this is the exact outcome you're going to get by going through this lead magnet. Okay, it should not be something vague. It should not be 7 tips. It should not be 30 strategies. I look back to my 30-day blog transformation challenge, and I got a lot of great feedback from that thing, but it wasn't a good lead magnet. The problem with it, as great as that thing was, it did a really good job of building up my know, like, and trust factor with my audience, but it did not set people up for a sale. And that was where I dropped the ball with the 30-day challenge. Okay, so let's jump into number 4 of our lead magnet checklist. It should give immediate gratification. This is not something where you want people to get a lead magnet and say, okay, well, now I've got my work cut out for me. I'm going to have to wait to see. I'm going to have to wait like a week or like a month to see how this turns out. No. You want them to be able to preferably go through your lead magnet, do it fairly quickly, and see an immediate result. And the psychology behind this is also important because if you're setting them up for an offer that's going to come after it, you want them to now realize that they just made headway. That's important, okay? The other thing is that you don't want to set them up with this open loop in their head because they're going to want to close that naturally. This open loop idea would be, and we've talked about this before on the podcast, but it's the idea of giving them something that's unfinished. Well, they're naturally going to want to finish it. So if you come in and you try to offer them something, but the thing that they just opted in for is not finished yet in their own head, then they're not going to want to take you up on your offer because they're just not done yet. They're not finished. So you want whatever they're going to do with your lead magnet to be finite. You want it to have a known end, and you don't want it to take very long, okay? Because you want that open loop to be closed and set them up for what's going to come after that. Number 5, you want to move your new lead or your new subscriber down a pathway of belief. And that belief is that a solution is not only possible, but that you're the one that provided it. So this goes very nicely in with number 4 here about immediate gratification. You want them to achieve a result. And by achieving that result, you want them to realize that they just made headway. You want them to acknowledge their own win and that they actually just made headway toward this thing. And you want them to know that you're the one that got them to that point, okay? Now, if you do your job right with the lead magnet, this is going to happen naturally. It's not like you need to sit there and make some special point to be like, hey, look what I did for you. You know, they're going to just see that, okay? But the big thing is that you need to make a very specific thing saying this is what you're going to get. Here's how to do it. They can do it fairly quickly, and the rest is going to happen. The next point in our checklist, point number 6, is that you want this thing to have a high perceived value to them. Now, you don't do this by assigning fake dollar amounts. Don't say, this thing is worth $47, but here's yours for free. No. That people see right through that crap, so don't do it. So the perceived value comes because they are going to see what's inside of it as valuable. If you give them a huge list of tools, they're going to see that as valuable because it would have taken them forever to find it, okay? Or if you really deliver on this thing and you say, here's exactly how to do it, step 1, 2, and 3, and you just gave them a big aha moment and they realized that they made headway, again, going back to the previous point that we just mentioned here, you're going to have that high perceived value just because it actually is value to them, not because you're assigning fake dollar amounts. The last point in our checklist is that it needs to be consumable in just a few minutes. Okay? So again, this goes to the whole idea that it needs to be short. It needs to be sweet. It needs to not be something where they download a 40 or 50 page ebook and then they put it into their famous read later file. I put that in air quotes. Believe me, I've done this. I file things into a read later notebook in Evernote. What's the chances that I actually go back and read that thing? Not that high, to be honest with you. And that's the way your prospects are going to be too. So You don't want to make anything that they can't consume in just a few minutes. So if you're going to do something in PDF format, it needs to be short. If you're going to do something in video format for a lead magnet, it needs to be short, like 3 to 5 minutes long tops, okay? Not long stuff at all. So let's quickly go through these 7 points one more time. You want your lead magnet, I have a hard time saying that one quickly for some reason, but you want it to provide a specific solution for an ultra-specific market. Number 2 is you want it to promise one big thing, not a ton of things, not a list of 7 or 10 or whatever things, one big thing. You want it to lend itself to a known and very specific end result. You want them to know exactly what they're going to get from your lead magnet. Number 4, you want them to have immediate gratification. Number 5, you want to lead them down a pathway of belief. You want them to get started on the transformation. If you go back many episodes in our series, we talked about the transformation and how it really falls at the core of everything that we're doing. You want them to see and feel that they just made headway on that transformation, and you want them to see that you're the one that got them there. Number 6, you want it to have a high perceived value, but because it actually is valuable, not because you're assigning fake dollar amounts to it. And then lastly, you want it to be consumable in just a few minutes. Nothing long, nothing they're going to file away into a read later folder. Okay? So that is our part 1 of how to create a perfect lead magnet. In our next episode 71, we're going to do part 2 of this, where we're going to start applying some of these things to our lead magnets. I'm going to give you some examples of bad ones, give you some examples of good ones, and we're going to really talk about how to put this stuff to use on your blog. So that'll be in episode 71 coming up in just a few days here on Coffee Break Blogging. Okay? I want to leave you once again with reminding you about the Blog Monetization Lab over at the Blog Marketing Academy. You can find this at blogmonetizationlab.com, but we got some really cool things going on in there. It should be this week, in fact, that I release the next action plan inside the Academy for Lab members, and this is going to be all about how to create a blog profit funnel behind your site. It's going to walk you through the entire sales funnel, essentially, and how to build it for yourself. Okay, and all the mechanics, how to put the pages together, things like that. It'll all be inside that action plan, and you'll find that over at blogmonetizationlab.com. All right, with that, I'll see you in part 2 of this perfect lead magnet series, I should call it, episode 71 of Coffee Break Blogging. See you in a few days.